Let's begin in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, where residents of Maitama, Katampe, Mpape, and their surrounding areas in Abuja have expressed concerns over cases of earth tremors which have persisted since the weekend. Earth tremors, a minor or brief movement of the Earth's surface triggered by the same forces responsible for earthquakes, had been previously reported in the capital in September 2018, which was set to occur at magnitude 3.2 around Mpape. Residents in multiple reports said the latest incident occurred on Saturday and persisted to the early hours of Tuesday as they experienced recurring vibrations. The tremors, which have caused widespread concerns, were mostly notably felt between 11 p.m. and 11:20 p.m. on Monday. Joining us now to tell us more is our correspondent, Joshua Imarayi, who is on the ground. Hello, Joshua. What is the latest and what can you tell us about the tremors?
Well, so far, we've not heard anything from the authorities that is particularly person responsible for emergency management and the agency. But however, there are confirmed reports that such thing occurred around the area of Mpape, Katampe, as well as Maitama extension. And confirming this report, there seems to be very high rise of stone blasting in that area. Whereas the residents are saying that this might be connected to the tremors that they experienced in the early hours of today and the previous days. But it is confirmed that such thing occurred, and we are still trying to reach the authorities to give us an explanation or give us any information regarding the incident that occurred around that environment.
But how does the current tremor compare to that of 2018?
Well, they said this one, according to what the residents of that area are saying, they said this seems to be stronger because they experience the vibration and it is more intense compared to the previous ones they've been experiencing subsequently. But one thing that is noteworthy is that tremors, the vibrations on the tremors seems to be stronger. It was well spread across the area, across those areas, particularly the Buhari area council, because those places are situated along the environs of Buhari area council, and it is more intense, like compared to the previous one they experienced so far. So there are fears that this might be some signals or signs that nature is trying to give them, and their fears are heightened because they've not heard anything from the authorities, and they are hoping that some clarifications will be made concerning the entire situation.
Joshua, but do you know if there are any, concerns about potential structural damage, to buildings or even any infrastructure? Have you heard word that any buildings or infrastructure has been damaged?
For now, we've not heard anything about any building affected or damaged because the activities there seems to be going normal. Activities there are normal, and citizens are going on their daily activities as normal. Just that the situation seems to be frightening to them. But concerning structures along that environment, the axis there, everything seems to be at place and at. But one thing that is noteworthy is that this seems to be a normal occurrence for them there, because when you ask residents in that area, they say this is normal. Comparing their experiences there and the other part of FCT, this seems to be abnormal to other residents of the FCT. While this might seem normal to them there, it is abnormal to other residents of the FCT.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that update, Joshua. Now to security matters. The Chief of Air Staff, Hassan Abubakar, has announced plans to deploy a quick response wing to the northwest to boost military presence in vulnerable communities. During a tour of Operation Hadad in Daji and the 213 Forward operating base in Benue State, Abubakar revealed that the Nigerian Air Force has intensified airstrikes against criminal elements and is working to enhance security further. He emphasized that a comprehensive strategy is needed for lasting peace, as kinetic actions alone are insufficient. Abubakar also assured Governor Dikko Reda of continued support for protecting farmers and ensuring a safe harvest season. Governor Reda praised the NAF's efforts and expressed confidence in improved security for the upcoming agricultural season. Staying with security matters, Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State has expressed confidence that the notorious bandit leader Bello Turji will soon be brought to justice. Speaking to the press, Governor Lawal assured that with the ongoing collaboration between the state, federal government and also security agencies, Turji's reign of terror is nearing its end. He stated that with what they have in place, it is only a matter of time before Turji will meet his end. This follows recent military successes, including the killing of wanted bandit leader Halilu Sububu, who had terrorized Zamfara and other northwest states. Over 30 bandits, including Sububu, were killed in the latest operations. Now to update on the flood situation in Benue State, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has pledged a new approach to tackling climate change, emphasizing collective action and education. During a visit in Benue State's Shehu's Palace in Maiduguri, Tinubu expressed sympathy for those affected by recent flooding, cutting short his trip to the U.S. to be with them. Tinubu praised the leadership of the Shehu and assured support for rehabilitation efforts. He highlighted that environmental issues, including climate change, are shared responsibility requiring joint efforts. The president also visited the internally displaced persons camp, promising federal government support for flood victims. Tinubu stressed that addressing these challenges will require both immediate aid and long-term education.
This one disaster that we must pay attention to. We will help Benue State. We, as a government, as Nigerian people, will pledge with you that we will help in the rehabilitation and resolution of problems there. It is our problem, not just your problem, not the problem of community alone. Situation that we find ourselves in, the environmental problem, climate change, and all of this is what we must tackle differently, and we must educate our people.
Joining us now to discuss this is public affairs analyst Lester Wilcox. Hello, Lester. Thank you for joining us at this time.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. So can you share your thoughts with us on President Bola Tinubu's establishment of the Disaster Relief Fund on the immediate recovery efforts in Benue State?
Well, I guess we have a lot of, well, first of all, let me commiserate with the people of Benue State. It's one of the most calm state now with a good governance structure. Let me sympathize with the Shehu of Benue, the governor, and the entire people of Benue. What I saw that took place in that state is something that anybody should be worried about. It was quite a dangerous thing that happened there, and our hearts, our thoughts, and prayers are with them in Benue State. Talking about government response, let me also thank that the president thought it wise to quickly get there to reassure the people of Benue State of the commitment of government. I'm not too much pleased with the multiplicity layers of bureaucratic issues. There's already an ecological fund that the government is always sharing among states. Between the federal government and the states, there's already an ecological fund that the government is already sharing among people. And so if there has to be a new set of fund, I don't know how that will come about, but NEMA is there to handle emergencies. There are ecological funds being shared to states, and these funds should be made to be put into use. Now it is at the time of that, it's a time like this that we'll begin to ask questions what are those ecological funds? What have they been meant to be
Okay,
used for all this
Alesta,
while?
how do you think that the National Assembly, alongside the executive branch, can ensure that the relief fund is managed transparently and reaches those who are in need, the affected communities, effectively?
That is another kettle of fish. Sincerely, I do not know what structure is on ground that whatever relief fund that is available will be made to get to the people. I just hope and pray. Well, Borno State have distinguished themselves in terms of governance with the way the governor has run that state in the last 5 years. It shows he's a man that has the empathy and sympathy of the people and is trying to reach the grassroots. So I do not think National Assembly has any serious role to play here than those on the ground. The federal agencies collaborating properly with the state officials and to see how things are properly domiciled and how things are properly get to the grassroots. In a time like this, people come up with all kinds of things. That's where I see corruption at its height. People do not have empathy for their fellow human beings. That is when there will be a lot of mismanagement and a lot of, but that shouldn't be, sincerely. The president has been there. It's not just to release money to people, it's also to monitor that this money reaches the people that is meant to, and it solves the problem that is meant to solve. We do not lack initiatives in Nigeria, but what we lack is the finishing touch of those initiatives vis-a-vis the amount of resources that has been committed to such ventures.
Okay. All right, Alesta. Now, but what role do you also see the federal government agencies like NEMA and also the military's theater command playing in the ongoing disaster response and recovery efforts?
Well, the issue now falls squarely on the lap of NEMA. That's the National Emergency Management Authority in Nigeria. So the issue of flood and other falls directly on NEMA. And so NEMA must rise up to its responsibilities right now. The local agencies, yes, like I said, ecological fund has always been shared to states. So where is the fund that has been shared to Borno all this while? It is now that that fund should be called up and be used for what it is meant to be used for. That is for Borno State. That's for the, but it is a disaster that goes beyond Borno State. It is a disaster that goes beyond the terms of Borno State and their capability. That's why the federal agency will come in. So NEMA is their baby as it is, because they are a body set up by government to manage emergencies. And this is a clear case of emergency whereby people have been displaced, livelihoods have been cut short. So there must be some concerted effort to bring relief to these people. And that is the responsibility of NEMA in collaboration with state authorities.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Alexa, for joining us and speaking to us on this.
Thank you.
Away from that, and on a sad note, the death toll in a road accident that occurred in Saminaka in the Lere local government area of Kaduna State has risen to 40 as more victims have died in the hospital where they were being treated. Now, the accident, which occurred around 1 p.m. local time on Sunday, involved mostly children who were traveling to celebrate Eid al-Mawlud, a Muslim festival to mark the birth of Prophet Muhammad. The bus they were traveling in lost control and collided with an articulated vehicle due to overspeeding and overloading. To politics now. The Edo State PDP governorship candidate Asuo Ighodalo has responded to recent comments by Nyesom Wike, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Speaking to the press, Ighodalo stated that Wike does not have the authority to decide the next governor of Edo State, stating that the people of the state will decide. This followed Wike's claim that he refused to back Ighodalo in the upcoming September 21 election, despite Governor Obaseki's efforts to secure his support. Wike also addressed concerns about the Edo resident electoral commissioner, Anubum Onoha, who is his cousin, saying he will not support any candidate. Ighodalo expressed disappointment, saying this was not the impression from their early meetings. In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has reaffirmed that Julius Abure's term as Labour Party National Chairman ended in June 2024. This statement comes in response to LP's lawsuit challenging its exclusion from INEC's training for party agents ahead of the Edo and Ondo governorship elections. INEC has declared Labour Party's leadership, including Abure, as invalid and does not recognize the party's March 2024 National Convention, which purportedly re-elected Abure. Now, the Commission argues that the convention breached the Constitution and Electoral Act and maintains that it only engages with parties having valid leadership. INEC is urging the court to dismiss Labour Party's suit, emphasizing that the March 2024 convention did not comply with legal and regulatory standards. The Zamfara State government has assured citizens of the state of its commitment to transforming the lives of residents in the state. The senior special assistant to the governor on broadcast, media, press and public affairs, while speaking to News Central television crew in Gusau, the state capital, says that much has been achieved since the current government came into office. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
This is one out of the several construction works ongoing within and outside Gusau, the Zamfara State capital.
Governor Dr. Dauda Lawal came with smart initiatives of 6 uncommon rescue agenda of his administration during his electioneering campaign. He vigorously pursued his election campaigns based on 6 smart agenda of rescue mission to Zamfara that has to do with security. First, which each and every person knows that security has become a precarious issue in Zamfara and, by extension, northwestern part of the country. And then there is the issue of, apart from the security, we have also education challenges. Then we have that of the health challenges. Then number 4, we have agriculture. Then we have water supply. Then number 6 is women and youth empowerment.
The state government says that it is determined to give the state capital Gusau the status of a real capital, away from what many described in the past as a glorified local government. State government already has a development plan in place and reels out expectations for the next 3 years.
The first month, between May and June, he paid the civil servants, their entitlement, their salaries. He paid the pensioners their salaries. He restored electricity. Gusau was not having power supply, steady power, water supply. He went to the water board. He has examined all the problems. He brought new brand engine and everything. That was how he picked up.
There is no doubt that the current developmental strides of Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State has raised the hope of the people of the state. It is hope that this feat is sustained. In Gusau, the Zamfara State capital, for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Away from that, Nigeria's former foreign and finance minister and the first woman and first African to head the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, will seek a second 4-year term when her mandate expires next August. Her spokesman, Ismaila Dieng, said in a statement on Monday that the 70-year-old had taken into account the overwhelming and broad-based support expressed by members. Her decision to seek another term was officially communicated to the WTO chair, Norwegian Ambassador Peter Olberg, on Monday. The WTO's African group formally requested that she make herself available for a second term at that same meeting and proposed that the process to renominate her should begin as soon as possible. So far, no other candidates have come forward. To education matters, a World Bank report reveals that over 404 million students worldwide were affected by climate-related school closures between January 2022 and June 2024. The report, titled Choosing Our Future, Education for Climate Action, highlights that 81 countries experienced temporary school shutdowns due to floods, storms, and heat waves. It warns that climate change is intensifying extreme weather events, causing massive disruptions in education that often go untracked. In Nigeria, recent floods displaced nearly 2 million people in Benue State, with students missing up to 53 school days. The report stresses that while education can drive climate action, the growing frequency of climate disasters is severely hindering access to education. To health matters, the Nigerian Red Cross Society says that Nigeria ranks among the first 3 countries with the highest confirmed cases of monkeypox on the continent, with about 40 recorded cases. This was as the Red Cross commenced the training of volunteers on risk community communication in Abuja to help maintain or contain the spread of the virus across the country. The volunteers are expected to sensitize citizens in rural communities on how to prevent the spread of the virus. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, completes the report.
Since the beginning of 2024, a total of about 18,737 suspected cases of Mpox have been reported across 13 African countries, out of which 5,265 cases have been confirmed, with 617 deaths. The Democratic Republic of Congo, the Central African Republic, and Nigeria top the chart of countries on the continent with 4,799, 48, and 40 confirmed cases. Since the last update on the 16th of August, where the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention reported 1 confirmed case in Akwa Ibom State, no deaths of monkeypox have been reported across 19 out of 36 states of the country.
Last year, we recorded 98 confirmed cases. In 2022, we recorded 762 confirmed cases. At the moment, we've recorded 67 confirmed cases. So it tells us it's pretty endemic in Nigeria, and there are a few highly reporting states which we're following up with, but also we're seeing newly reporting states.
In response to the outbreak in Nigeria, in August, the federal government received a donation of 10,000 doses of Mpox vaccine from the U.S. government. While many believe that vaccine alone cannot contain the spread of the virus, the Nigerian Red Cross Society has commenced training of community volunteers to support government efforts.
The Nigerian Red Cross Society specifically is training 45 participants from the endemic states to respond to this outbreak.
We receive a request from Nigerian Red Cross to support the response activities. For an activity to be undertaken, there must be some involvement of the branches of the Nigerian Red Cross.
The knowledge acquired here is expected to be scaled down to about 3,000 volunteers of the Nigerian Red Cross in endemic states.
Most of the things I didn't know about the transmission, about the preventive measures, and above all, how to debunk the myths and misconceptions that people have about the disease condition. So that will help me.
We are going to take this back to our states, and it will help us to build the capacity of our volunteers.
Experts here say that maintaining a clean environment and a frequent hand washing, as well as reporting any suspected case of the virus, can help contain its spread. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
The Chinese community in Lagos, Nigeria, is celebrating the 75th National Day as well as Nigeria's 64th Independence Day with dance and songs. The independence of both China and Nigeria falls on October 1st. However, both events were commemorated together on Monday. The Chinese National Day marks the anniversary of the October 1, 1949 founding of the People's Republic of China by then-leader Mao Zedong. News Central correspondent Bettina Nweli reports.
This year marks the 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. With 53 years of diplomatic relations between China and Nigeria, The two countries have deepened exchanges and cooperation in various fields at all levels based on mutual benefits. During her speech, the Consul General of the People's Republic of China, Ms. Yan Yuqing, spoke about reinforced relations between the two countries.
On September the 3rd, during President Xi Jinping's meeting with Nigeria President Bola Tinubu, who was visiting China to attend the 4K Beijing Summit and for a state visit, both leaders jointly announced the elevation of China-Nigeria relations to a comprehensive strategic partnership. The two heads of states witnessed the signing of multiple bilateral cooperation agreements in areas such as Belt and Road Initiative, trade, agriculture, aviation, and media.
China-Nigeria Friendship Contribution Awards were received by some individuals, while top Nigerian government officials in attendance gave well wishes to the People's Republic of China.
China's transformation over the past 75 years is truly exceptional, from overcoming challenges of the past to becoming a global powerhouse in technology, manufacturing, and economic growth. China's story has become a symbol of resilience, vision, and commitment.
China's journey over the past 7.5 decades is nothing short of extraordinary. From its early challenges to becoming a global leader in technology, innovation, and economic power, China's story is an inspiring testament to the resilience, vision, and hard work of its people and leadership.
We therefore celebrate the 2024 FOCAP Summit of the Forum on Africa on China-Africa Cooperation, which has strengthened the bonds between China and Africa. Furthermore, we acknowledge the invaluable contribution of Chinese entrepreneurs and diaspora in Nigeria.
Nigeria has long been ranked as China's largest project contracting market, second largest export market, major trading partner, and investment destination in Africa. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Bettina Nwili.
Thank you, Bettina, for that. Now, Nigeria's federal government has assured Ugandan investors of 100% ownership of the investment if they invest in Nigeria. This was made known by Nigeria's Ministry of Trade and Industry as the nation's business community met with senior representatives of the Ugandan government in an effort to improve trade and business ties. Amadine Uyi reports.
It was a meeting between the Nigerian business community with senior officials from the Ugandan government. Those present say benefits are bound for both countries as they improve their bilateral relations and exploit available opportunities.
We recognize that the economic benefits and potentials of bilateral relations with Uganda and other partners are unambiguous. Therefore, the country has put in place various incentives to encourage investments.
We know that in 2022, Uganda's export to Nigeria was a modest, and I say modest, 4.61 million, whilst Nigeria's export to Uganda was only $471,000. Imagine Uganda with nearly 4 billion liters of milk. That will for sure reduce Nigeria's reliance on imported dairy. Why should Nigeria's supermarkets stock milk from halfway around the world when Uganda's got plenty?
The UNDP resident coordinator to Nigeria urged the two countries to leverage on their unique advantages, improve their exports among both nations, and earn foreign income.
And it's not only about exporting from Uganda here, but it's also that businessmen and women can invest there to bring back to Nigeria. And let's not forget Nigeria's annual coconut production of nearly 300,000 metric tons. Let's get coconut products rolling into Uganda. where there's a high demand. Imagine what these tangible opportunities will do. It will unlock opportunities for the two countries.
Nigeria's Ministry of Trade and Investment urged Ugandan investors to invest in Nigeria, saying the federal government will guarantee 100% ownership of their investments.
We have a package of incentives of over 100% ownership of investment by any investor who wishes to invest in Nigeria. What this means is that foreign investors are allowed to own businesses 100% in Nigeria.
With trade relations between Uganda and Nigeria very low compared to the trade volume between their counterparts in Europe, many here are optimistic that with a direct flight now connecting Mpape in Uganda to Abuja in Nigeria, there is an opportunity to improve this volume. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
The news continues in West Africa, where the Al-Qaeda-linked group Jama'at Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin (JNIM) has claimed responsibility for an attack on a military airport and training center in Mali's capital, Bamako. The jihadist group said on its communication channels that a special operation had targeted the military airport and the training center of the Malian gendarmes in the center of the Malian capital this morning at dawn. Now, this has caused huge human and material losses and the destruction of several military aircraft. Meanwhile, the army said it had control of the situation in Bamako after what it called a foiled infiltration attempt by terrorists into a military police base. At least 8 people died, including 3 children, after a 7-story building collapsed in Sierra Leone capital, Freetown. The National Disaster Management Agency said in a statement that the building in eastern Freetown, thought to be used for both residential and commercial purposes, collapsed between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. local time on Monday. The NDMA said the victims were 3 adult males, 2 adult females, 2 girls under 5, and 1 boy under 5. The agency said it remained committed to the rescue efforts, hoping to recover more victims trapped beneath the collapsed structure. With the cause of the collapse, while the cause of the collapse is not yet clear, an investigation has been opened.
At the bottom, Nami Baden they say, go na social media, so if you not sweat it up, una left me for social media. Nami mama call, say your uncle bikini cousin and daughter don't cover them. Now I say, I saw I can't sue me, so they go, I can't at the scene and meet me uncle. Now I say, what's it happen? I say, it's 6 bikini and they under there. Instead of all 6 they under there. So with a call, the big girl bikini they pick the call, say we there at the vegana because mama say 11 at vegana, then they make.
And I feel so sorry because I see that they pull diamond there by the hose, what collapse. What the small begin there, big man there, and they pull them, but that was all collapse. So I feel sympathy for them. So to me on side, I advise people them for me them know the right side, whose side, and when we are for bill.
Two African press unions have voiced concerns over the disappearance of an Ivorian journalist, Serge Maturin Adu, over 2 weeks ago in the Niger capital Niamey, and called for an explanation from authorities. The two unions said they had no contact with Adu since he disappeared on September 1 and no information from Nigerian officials. President of Ivory Coast's National Union of Journalists, Jean-Claude Koulibaly, said hours before he went missing, Adu had told his wife he had been summoned to appear before judicial police. According to information gathered in Niamey by the union, Adu is accused of espionage and of being in cahoots with terrorists. Authorities in Niger have not released any information. In the east of the continent, the new academic year has kicked off at a school in Port Sudan in the northeast of the war-torn African country. The United Nations says the war across much of Sudan has created the world's largest displacement crisis, with millions uprooted. In other news from around the world, UN member states will today debate a push by the Palestinians to formally demand an end to the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories within 12 months. The text, which has faced fierce criticism from Israel, is based around an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice calling Israel's occupation since 1967 unlawful. The General Assembly requested that Israel is under an obligation to bring to an end its unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territory as rapidly as possible. In response, Arab countries have called for a special session of the Assembly just days before dozens of heads of state and government descend on the UN headquarters this month to address the kickoff of this year's General Assembly session. The U.S. Secret Service says the man arrested on suspicion of seeking to assassinate Donald Trump in Florida had no clear line of sight on the former president and did not fire his weapon. Secret Service Acting Director Ronald Rowe made this known while referring to the suspect Ryan Ruth, who has been charged with illegal firearms possession in the case.
As former President Trump was moving through the fifth fairway across the course and out of sight of the sixth green, the agent, who was visually sweeping the area of the sixth green, saw the subject armed with what he perceived to be a rifle and immediately discharged his firearm. The subject, who did not have line of sight to the former president, fled the scene. He did not fire or get off any shots.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says nothing justifies the collective punishment of the Palestinian people following the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas. This comes as Israel continues its retaliatory onslaught on the Gaza Strip following Hamas's October 7 attacks.
Well, it is unimaginable. The level of suffering in Gaza, the level of death and destruction have no parallel in everything I've witnessed since I am Secretary General. Obviously, we all condemn the terror attacks made by Hamas, as well as the taking of hostages. That is an absolute violation of international humanitarian law. But the truth is that nothing justifies the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. And that is what we are witnessing in a dramatic way in Gaza.
Now in business, Zimbabwe's creditors are reportedly open to discussing a debt for climate swap as part of restructuring the nation's $21 billion arrears. Raul Fernandez, the United Nations Development Program project manager, shared this insight at an economic summit in Victoria Falls, emphasizing that creditors want to see commitment to structural reforms from the government. Debt swaps, which allow a portion of the country's external liabilities to be forgiven in exchange for investment in climate projects, have been successfully implemented in countries like Barbados and Ecuador. Fernandez noted that such arrangements could lead to significant debt reduction and improved payment conditions. Zimbabwe, which has been excluded from international capital markets since 1999 due to defaults, is currently in restructuring talks with various creditors, including the Paris Club and the World Bank. Now in the world of sports, the Flying Eagles will play a friendly game against Water FC on Wednesday, September 18 at the FIFA Goal Project in Abuja. This match is part of their preparations for the 2024 WAFU-B Under-20 Championship. The team, under new head coach Aliyu Zubairu, resumed training last Thursday in Abuja. Zubairu was recently appointed by the Nigerian Football Federation's Executive Committee following the recommendation of its Technical and Development Subcommittee. His main goal is to prepare the Flying Eagles for the WAFU B Under-20 Championship in Togo, scheduled for October-November, where the zone's representative for the Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations will be determined. Glasgow will host the 2026 Commonwealth Games in a scaled-down format featuring 10 sports across 4 venues, including Scotstoun Stadium for athletics and Tallcross for swimming. Now, this follows the withdrawal of Victoria, Australia, due to rising costs. The Scottish government secured the deal with assurances of no public funding required, as compensation from the Australians covers the budget. The UK government will provide additional support for any increased security threats, but won't fully underwrite the Games. The total budget is projected at $114 million, significantly less than the $543 million spent on the 2014 Games. The event will not include the athletes' village or large opening and closing ceremonies. Tunisia's own Jabeur has been forced to end her 2024 season prematurely due to a persistent shoulder injury. The 30-year-old has slipped to 22nd in the world rankings this year amid fitness struggles and pulled out of Cincinnati, Washington, and the U.S. Open with the shoulder problem after missing the Paris Olympics due to concerns over her knee. The 3-time Grand Slam runner-up and former world number 2 said she will dedicate her time to charitable projects while recovering and also return to action in Australia early next year. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, here's another look at some of our major stories. We told you that concerns have been heightened in Nigeria's capital as earth tremor rocked several communities. We also told you that INEC has told court Julius Abure's tenure as Labour Party's national chairman expired in June 2024. Finally, you heard that Al-Qaeda-linked group JNIM has claimed responsibility for Mali attack. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'm Dashen. Usman.